This page for solving equations review, you've already seen this before. So what I want you to do, I'm gonna give you a 2-minute head start. I love having you guys move ahead through content if you already know what to do. Within the first 4 questions, pick a question, I don't care which one, and try to solve it. I will tell you, the easiest question on this page is probably number 2. You definitely have seen how to solve this one before. So I'm giving you 2 minutes. Go ahead and solve it. Pick any question you want, any question at all. If you're scared at this point, don't be scared. It's not that difficult. I'm going to try to go through as many questions as possible. Since this is a review of Algebra 1 and technically geometry, I'm not going through every question on here. I'm going to probably do about 5 of them, maybe 6. And that's pretty much it. Everything else that's left over is extra practice to help you study for your tests and quizzes. So why did I say that number 2 was so easy? What method could you use to solve it? Lauren Ann? Say it again. Butterfly. What's another name for butterfly? Cross multiplication. So you guys have seen this before. This is called a proportion. This is when you have one fraction equal to another fraction. All you have to do is cross multiply. So you can use cross multiplication for number 2. That's an easy one. I'm not going to do that one. Let's do number 1, because this one I can actually do by cross multiplication. You have to have one fraction equal to another fraction. This isn't a fraction though. How do I make it a fraction? Put it over 1. Make your life easier on my tests and quizzes. All you have to do, if you see one whole fraction equal to something that could turn into one big fraction, do that and then solve. So I'm going to cross multiply or use the butterfly method. We're going to do 2 times 3x plus 1, and we're going to set that equal to 1 times all of this. When you're multiplying 1 by this whole expression up here, is that going to change anything by multiplying it by 1? No, it's not going to change anything. So I'm not going to worry about rewriting the 1. I'm just going to put 10x plus 17 minus x minus 9. This is what you're solving. You've seen how to do this before, back in middle school. So let's distribute. We're going to make this and distribute this. 6x plus 2, and that's going to equal 10x plus 17 minus x plus 9. I have a bad habit of going fast through notes. If you're like, wait, Ms. Tapia, you're going too fast, just raise your hand. I'll slow down. Can I do anything on the right-hand side over here? There's a lot of stuff going on. Combine your like terms. So we're going to combine these and these. So the 6x plus 2 is just going to have to go along for the ride right now. 10 minus 1 is going to give me 9x. 17 plus 9 is going to give me 26. From here, it's just a 3-step problem. I'm going to add something or subtract something, and add or subtract something else, and then divide. Okay, so I'm going to subtract the 6x on each side. You can move the 9 if you want, but I'm just going to move the 6. 2 equals 3x plus 26. And then I'll subtract 26 here. We're going to have negative 24 equals 3x. Yes, ma'am. Say it again. Because 10 minus 1 is a positive 9? Is that what you're talking about? When I distributed the negative x, that turns into a positive. Negative 1 times negative 9 turns into positive. Is that what you're talking about? You good now? All right, no problem. Last thing I have to do is divide both sides by 3. What's 24 divided by 3? What kind of 8? What could I do if I wanted to check if I was right? Plug it back in. I will tell you, this is a true story. My senior just graduated last year. She was in my Algebra 1, my Algebra 2, and my geometry class. She checked her work after every single question. She never got a question wrong. She had straight A's in all of the classes that I taught her. So if I were you, invest the extra time in your tests, in your quizzes, in your homework, and check your work. As of right now, I'm not requiring that you guys check your work for any of these questions, but I didn't prompt her, or I didn't tell her she had to check all of her work, but she just chose to, and she always got her questions right. So take that extra time to double check your work because it might be helpful between the difference between an A and a B. All right, let's look at the next one, number 3. So for number 3, I'm going to go ahead and solve it because I know some of y'all are having a little bit of anxiety right now with it, but I'm going to try to make it as easy as possible. Okay, first thing we're going to do is have to distribute this negative 1/3. I'm going to distribute the negative 1/3 to both of those terms. When you're multiplying both of those terms, this is like 2w over 1 and 9 over 1. It's pretty much what it is. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5 over 6w plus 21 equals negative 1/3 times 2w, multiply the numerators together, and multiply the denominators together. Same thing for the next one. Negative 1/3 times 9 is positive 9 over 3. But what's 9 over 3 reduced to? 3. So you don't have to put 9 over 3. I just put it in case you really didn't know. I'm going to simplify this a bit. Negative 2w over 3 plus 3. And I'm putting the w in the numerator here. I could do the same thing with this one too. It really doesn't matter. Either stick it next to it or put it in the numerator. I personally don't mind moving the 2w over 3 to the other side of your equation and then combining like terms by finding a common denominator, but most of you guys don't. How can I get rid of the fraction? I find it easier for all of you if you just get rid of the fraction right off the bat. What can you do? Multiply by the denominator. So you could multiply by both of them, but it's just going to give you larger numbers. So what I would do, you are correct. I'm going to multiply this entire equation, every single term in here by, okay, let's see. 6 is, well, 6, of course. And then technically 3 times 2 will give me 6. So I'm going to multiply it by, I think it's the least common denominator is what we call it. I'm going to multiply everything in this equation by 6. What that's going to do is it's going to get rid of your denominators for both fractions. Here's how. You're going to do 5 times 6w over 6. So I'm just multiplying that 6 times 5 times w plus 6 times 21, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 126. And that's going to equal to 6 times negative 2. Okay, I'm going to write that out. Negative 2 times 6w over 3 plus 6 times 3 at the end, which is 18. You're like, Ms. Tapia, you lied. You said you were going to cancel them. Thought something went away. Oh, let's see. Can anything cancel here? What? Can anything cancel here? Well, not cancel, but can anything reduce? What? 6 over 3 reduces to 2. So my equation is 5w plus 126 equals negative 2 times 2 is going to give me 4w plus 18. Solve that in green. After you get rid of those fractions, make your life easier and solve it as a regular equation. You don't need to have those fractions. If you want to keep them there, you can. So right now, you guys finish solving it. Yes. Yeah. Is that better? So from here, I'm going to add 4W to each side. Put the rest of my work up here. So we're going to make this 5 plus 4 is 9W plus 126 is equal to 18. I'm going to subtract 126. So 9W is going to equal negative 108, if I'm not mistaken. All these numbers on tests and quizzes, I might not give you a calculator, so you need to be able to do this on your own, even if you have to do it by hand. And then divide both sides by 9. What's 108 divided by 9? Negative 12. If you didn't know that, guys, you can definitely divide that out on your tests and quizzes. So looking at question number 5, that's the next question we're going to look at. For question number 5, this says the sum of 4 consecutive integers is 222, and it asks you to find the integers. So when we're finding integers for this, we're going to have to figure out first, what are the integers we're going to look at? Okay, so when it says consecutive, what does consecutive mean? Right after. So it's like 2, 3, and 4. Those are numbers that are consecutive. It's one after the other. So for the sum of the 4 consecutive integers, I don't know what these are, but I can try to find them. We're going to say that the first integer is x. We're just going to give it a variable, x. If the first value is x, what's the second one going to be? Which means the third has to be x plus 2. And then the fourth has to be x plus 3. Okay, so from here it says the sum. Okay, well, the sum means we need to take all 4 of these integers that we just labeled, add them up, and see if it will equal 222. So I'm going to take x plus 1 plus x plus 2 plus x plus 3, and I'm going to set this equal to 222. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can combine my like terms. This is just a very basic equation. I combine these terms. So we're going to make this 4x plus 6, and that's going to equal 222. After this, it's just a 2-step equation. I'm going to need to subtract the 6 on each side because it's being added right now. So I'm going to subtract 6 on each side. So we're going to have 4x equals 218, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that 218? Okay, good. And then from here, when I have 4x equals 216, I need to get x completely alone. So in order to do that, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Go ahead and divide that out. Don't yell it out, just write it down. You divide 216 by 4, what are you going to get? 54. X equals 54. Am I done? What else do I still have to do? When it says find the integers, it wants to know what is the first, second, third, and fourth term. So if I was to find the first, second, third, and fourth, the first one is x, so that's going to be 54. The second one is going to just add 1 to that. The third is going to add 2 to that, which is 56. And the fourth is going to add 3 to 54, which is going to be 57. Those are the answers I'm looking for. Questions, concerns, fears? Ms. Brown, you okay? You sure? All right. All right, let's look on the back side of the page. I'm not doing every single question here. Whatever questions I don't do, it's pretty much up to you if you choose to do them later on. This will help you study for your tests and quizzes. On the back side of the page, let's look at number 8. We're going to start off by looking at 8. So for question number 8, this one says the measure of one angle is 6 more than half the measure of another angle. If the angles are complementary, find both angles. Okay, so let's first look at the first part. It says the measure of one angle is 6 more than 1/2 the measure of another angle. So it's talking about two different angles here. I'm going to say that this is angle X and this is angle Y. You can give it whatever variables you want. The measure of one angle, which is angle X, this is going to be 6 more than 1/2 of the other angle, which is Y. Okay, let me actually translate that into math. 6 more is 6 plus 1/2 the measure, so half the measure of Y. Y is another angle. Y is a completely different one. So X is going, or one angle, X is 6 more than 1/2 the measure of another angle. It's not going to be the same one. Are we okay? Sure. All right. So let me ask you this. When I write this out as X equals, should I put X equals 6 plus 1/2 Y or 1/2 Y plus 6? It needs to be 1/2 Y plus 6. When you're seeing it written as an equation, you usually will put the variable first, mainly in case you have negatives, which really won't affect this question because we're talking about an angle. Anytime you have a negative angle and you plug it in, you always want that to be in the first spot, or negative value. You want that to be in the first spot. So that's the first part of this equation. The second part says if the angles are complementary. What does complementary mean? So these, wait, 180 or 90? 90. So when it says the angles, it's talking about angle X and Y. Both of those are going to equal to 90. This is just a system of equations. You did this a lot back in Algebra 1. So this system is what I'm going to solve. So what method is probably going to be best to solve it? Substitution. We have a variable that's completely isolated. So I'm going to take this X and I'm going to substitute all of the 1/2 Y minus 6 in for X. We're just going to substitute it in. So I'm going to substitute parentheses 1/2 Y plus 6 plus Y is going to equal 90. Notice that in this blue equation, all of my variables are the same. That's the best way to know if you're starting this off correctly. So since all of these are going to be variables that I like, which are Y, we can go ahead and solve. I always plug things in using parentheses in case I need to distribute, which I don't. So from here, you can solve it however you want. I like to get rid of my fractions as much as possible. So to get rid of this fraction, I'm going to multiply the whole equation by 2. So 2 times 1/2 is going to give me just Y. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times Y is positive 2Y. And 2 times 90 is 180. If you can solve all of these with whole numbers, I feel like you have a better chance of getting it right. So from here, I'm just going to combine my like terms and solve. You don't need me for this. So we're going to have 3Y plus 12 equals 180. I'm going to subtract 12 on each side. 3Y is going to equal 168. And then I'll divide both sides by 3. I'm not telling you what Y is going to equal. You tell me. Don't yell it out, just write it down. Divide 3 by 168. Do the math for it. I don't have a calculator. What's 168 divided by 3?
56.
Am I done? But I found Y. You have to find X. You have to find both angles. It said it at the top, find both angles. So since X is equal to 1/2 Y plus 6, I can plug it in here. Could I also plug it in here and subtract it from 90 instead? Yeah, this will probably be easier for some people. So it doesn't matter which one of these you do. I'm going to use the first one, X equals 1/2 of 56 plus 6. to try to figure out what that second variable is. Make sure that when you're on your tests and quizzes, don't just tell me, oh, x is going to equal 34. I need to actually know how you found it. So the least you can do is set up this equation. So when you write x equals 34, I know how you got that. Is the answer 34? I just wrote it. Okay, good. That's my answer. So those two I need to have. Make sure you have both of them. All right, I'm gonna give you guys one to try because honestly, this is just revisiting Algebra 1. What I'm gonna do right now is give you guys question 10. I want you to solve question 10. I'm gonna give you a 3-minute head start. So for question number 10, there's a couple ways you can write this. It says the length of a rectangle is 1 more than 4 times its width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 62 meters, and you need to find the dimensions. So the dimensions are the length and the width. So for the first part, it says the length of your rectangle is 1 more than 4 times the width. You can use X and Y for this. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm going to use L and W because I know that there's a perimeter formula that I can use that represents the rectangular's perimeter. So for this one, I'm going to say the length of your rectangle is 1 more than 4 times the width. So 1 more is 1 plus. 4 times the width means you're literally doing 4 times the width. If I was to write that out as an equation, should I put that as L equals 1 plus 4W or 4W plus 1? 4W plus 1. So L equal 4W plus 1. That's my equation for that first sentence. I said a second ago that there's an equation for the perimeter of a rectangle. What is that equation? Desiree?
2 length plus 2 width, well, like,
Mhm.
equals the perimeter, which in this case is 62.
Which in this case is 62. That's exactly it. This formula is going to be golden to help you remember this. You should remember this from Algebra 1. I know for my students, I did that with every systems of equations y'all had. So for this equation, I'm going to recopy it and I'm going to substitute in 62 like Desiree said. I'm going to make this 2L plus 2W equals 62. This is your system that you're solving. It's literally just a system of equations. So from here, I'm going to solve. Have I lost anybody before I solve this? All right, so I'm going to take this length, the 4W plus 1, and I'm going to substitute it right down here for the length. So we're going to make this 2 parentheses for the length. I'm going to substitute 4W plus 1 because we said that was our length value, plus 2W equals 62. Remember, whenever you're solving an equation like this, you want to have the exact same variable. So double check that your variables are the exact same here, so that way you actually can solve it. If you have 2 different variables, you might not be able to solve. So we're going to distribute the 2 to make this 8W plus 2 plus 2W equals 62. I'm going to combine my like terms. So we'll have 10W plus 2 equals 62. And then I'll subtract this 2. So this is a 2-step equation from here. So we'll have 10W equals 60. And when I want to get W by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 10. And this is in meters. Don't forget your units. Since it said for me to find the dimensions, I'm going to have to make sure to plug this back into either the original equation for the length or for the new equation, 2L plus 2W equals 62. And it's really not new, I just said that for some reason. So to find my length, I'm going to do L equals, I'm going to use 4W plus 1 because I don't want to have to really add or subtract anything and isolate variables. L is going to equal 4 times 6 plus 1. 4 times 6 is 24. And 24 plus 1 is 25. That's my length in meters. That's it for me. I didn't want to do anything else as far as this page is concerned. Are there any other questions that y'all have? Okay.